Welcome back to a brand new episode of Jori Sports Stories. As always, I'm your host Jori, and once again, we've got an action-packed, fun-filled episode for you guys today. And on today's agenda, we've gotten playoff basketball and all the drama and injuries that come with it. We'll also discuss the fast-approaching NFL draft, which will be tomorrow, and some of the various trade rumors put out there. Look out for that. Also, on this week's edition of Jori's Timeout Sessions, you'll hear my take on some notorious villains and adjutants in sports, and on chirping and blaming it on some other reason when it doesn't go too well. That is a shot. We've gotten quite the show for you all planned, so tune in. Turn up your volume and let's get it. First things first, we got NBA action, and with games now starting every other day, there isn't a lack of action. Neither is there a lack of drama. We've gotten Laker-Grizzlies foolishness getting chippy. We've gotten a sweep by the 76ers, a slugfest in Golden State versus Sacramento, and unpredictability in the Clippers-Suns series that just ended yesterday. Plus, Dillon Brooks, the great agitator, is back with some new words. This will be a segment you don't want to miss, so let's get it. Alright, so we're going to, first in the NBA, we're going to talk about the Lakers and the Grizzlies series. And here's the thing. It's going it's going how I thought it would go. Because once again, the immaturity of this Memphis Grizzlies team is proving to be quite detrimental to any chance of a viable playoff run. Let me name the reasons. Dillon Brooks has proven to be a liability by being on the floor. All he do is do cardio. His shot is broken. He don't do much offensively, and he's subpar at defense. The only thing Dillon Brooks is good at is being an agitant, an irritant. 38-year-old LeBron James scored 28 points the other night, most of which when being guarded by Mr. Dillon the Villain Brooks. Again, Dillon Brooks is good at nothing but being a pure irritant. And then we can go back to yesterday when he gave him a 40-piece, 20 points and 20 rebounds, and both Ja and Dillon Brooks decided they didn't want to speak to the media. We'll discuss that later. But again, Memphis has a lack of size due to no Steven Adams, who tore his PCL. And that's going to continue to be a problem for them. Lakers have the type of size that can get Memphis into some trouble. I'm talking like AD, Rui, LeBron big. And Anthony Davis has played phenomenal in Game 3, and he needs to continue to do so. He played subpar in Game 4. And in Game 5, he was here and there. And for the most part, Rui Hachimura is quickly becoming one of my favorite players because what he does coming off the bench is very special. He's been hot. And not just like, he's been fire hot. Like, he comes off the bench, he knocks down a three, the mid-range, a floater, he can get into the paint. Defensively, he's a stud. He's a very capable defender. And I believe that this man is going to be special. All aboard the Rui Hachimura train. Passenger 1. And Austin Reeves is another one that's going to continue to give the Grizzlies some trouble. One thing I do concern about the Lakers is D'Angelo Russell, because he can't be touch and go all the time coming off the bench. And it's more touch and go. And Dennis Schroeder has been quite effective. And with LeBron not needing to be historically great to win these games, and him trusting his teammates a little bit more, they can play more free. And he's kind of sort of already handing the reins over to Anthony Davis. In a way. And like I said, LeBron isn't taking the ball up the court as much, which is pretty much key to Lakers' success. I feel like if it runs through AD, if that offense runs through AD and he can facilitate, or he could play the 5, that Lakers team is scary. Anyway, and Ja is going to have to be historically great right now for them to even have a chance. Because with the way that the Lakers are led by LeBron and he's a veteran, he probably has these boys like, look, we're going to do a one-hitter quitter. Let's get this done. We're not going back to LA having to come back to Memphis. No. So Ja's going to have to be great if Memphis is going to have the chance in this series. And with his supporting cast being decent, yes, they have Jaren Jackson Jr. I know what type of defender he is. And Desmond Bane, when he gets hot, he's second. He gets pretty hot. But they can all be iffy at times. We saw what they're capable of looking like. Immature teams, they foul a lot. They get a lot of dumb, trivial fouls as well. And if the Lakers defense can stop Ja from getting to full speed, we'll talk about him doing all of that extra stuff all the time in just a second. Memphis is in trouble. Plus, they're better defensively without Ja even being on the floor. What? Again, but the Lakers are a smarter team, though, and Memphis has shown throughout this season what falling apart looks like. Not even trying looks like. Come on. But as far as Ja's concerned, like, he needs to stop flying up in the goddamn on air like that all the time. His career is not going to be very long if all he's going to do is fly through the air. Period. And the thing is, just like that. I lost my train of thought, but going back to what I was saying, yeah, Ja needs to adjust his game. If Ja had any type of resemblance of a Euro step, that man would be fine. But because he likes to fly in at 65 miles an hour and go through the air and land all weird, we're having these conversations where we don't know if he's really healthy because his hand might hurt. And it's his shooting hand. But as long as he's playing like that, we're going to always have these type of conversations about Ja. So it's up to Ja to readjust the way Ja is playing. Period, point blank. And next we got the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Suns. And now that I've taken my notes and the series has ended, I'm going to have to readjust what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say what I had to say anyway. The Clippers are done without Kawhi. And what happened? Regardless of Russell Westbrook. I was right on that point. Because even though they have the better bench, but they don't have both Kawhi and Paul George. And the remaining supporting cast is indeed talented, but very, again, touch and go. Norman Powell did his little part. Did his little one. But the Clippers had no chance. Well, they had less of a chance once they figured out Paul George wasn't going to be there. And I'll save my results for my feelings on that in a minute. And then Russ started balling out, and then now Kawhi's done. That's when they really were finished. Because they were struggling with Russ balling out like that. They weren't winning. So it's about time to move on from one of those pieces who are almost never healthy, and they've barely even played together. And we could chalk this up to be a big old failure too. And as for the Suns, Chris Paul may be starting to become a little bit of a liability, but it does go unnoticed because of what Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are doing, and the Clippers' inability to stop either one of them. And for the Suns, I would like to think that it is championship or bust for them, seeing that I don't trust KD to stay healthy for very long. Chris Paul is turning into CP3 is turning into CP0 as we speak. And yeah. And the reason why I say that the Suns could be in some trouble. Hold on 1 second. Is that they're struggling to beat a team without its two best players. It's taking everything that they have to edge out a victory. The Suns are more vulnerable than people think, and they weren't really able to contend with that of Russell Westbrook. Okay, so what does that mean? They're in trouble after this season. They're not invincible. 1, CP3 is little. 2, Devin Booker's little. DeAndre Ayton can be in and out. So they can, whoever they plays next, they're going to have to be dang near perfect to survive the series. And I don't think that Suns team is able to be perfect. We've seen what they've been capable of doing. But at the same time, it's the playoffs. So all of that stuff in the regular season about the Suns being the hot pick, well, right now they're not my hot pick because they have some issues defensively. And right now, like I said, it's playoff basketball. So playoff basketball is going to be more intense. You need defense in playoff basketball. Period, point blank. Like I said, the Suns could be in trouble after this series. And now on to the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. Warning signs should be around the Bucks. They're in danger of going home in the first round. They're too careless and reckless with the ball. They they commit horrible penalties. And when Giannis isn't on the floor, they don't look right. They look discombobulated. Drew Holiday, however you pronounce his first name, is also touch and go. He's very good. He's a very good player. But he can be touch and go at some times. And he's very reckless with the rock. Chris Middleton is iffy too. Milwaukee had a 20-point lead. And they single-handedly let Jimmy Buckets, with a little bit of help from other people, beat them. And Jimmy Butler is literally built for playoff basketball. Miami is a playoff team. They're not a regular season team. You can beat the crap out of them in the regular season. They're pretty much impossible to beat. Well, not impossible. You can beat them. Lakers. They're hard to beat in the playoffs because of Jimmy Butler. But they don't have Tyler Hero and somebody else. And Kyle Lowry's been going in and out, in and out, in and out. So, for Milwaukee to give up that type of lead with the Miami Heat team that's missing a few players, they're in trouble. And once their season ends, it could end soon. Unless Giannis just goes berserk and they just go on a nice little 4-game win streak. But it might be time to start getting Giannis different pieces together. They would have to win 4 straight. Now that they're down 1-3. Now that they're down 3-1. That takes a lot. That coming up from down 3-1 takes a lot. 1-3, 3-1, however you want to take it. The Milwaukee Bucks had their work cut out for them. Now let's touch on the Golden State Warriors versus the Sacramento Kings. Now this is one of those series that I think is a very scary good series. This is one of the best series in the NBA right now. And the Kings are literally playing like baby Warriors. And it's going to come down to who gets the last shot, I believe, in this series. Draymond's impact is going to have to be just like it was in Game 4. I need Jordan Poole to actually be there. he's going to have to be better, period. Golden State has still been pretty horrible on the road all season. They're inconsistent, even with Steph and Clay being what they are. This is definitely one of those series that could go either way because of their playoff experience. Now, sometimes their playoff experience hasn't really even shown up, but the Warriors, as far as, here's my thing, and I'm gonna regroup, get my thoughts together. As far as Steph, Clay, and Draymond are there, there's always gonna be a threat of them just turning it on, because we've seen them do it. I've seen them do it numerous of times. They've done it. They can just turn it on, and it looks like they can turn it on and off with ease, with absolute ease. So there's that. And then we had the Brooklyn Nets versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, to be honest, Brooklyn, in all honesty, probably was the worst team in the playoffs, seeing that they got swept. And it was due to a mid-season implosion of a huge magnitude. We saw all three of them superstars get up out of Brooklyn. I knew James Harden was going to be the first. But, which is why Philly managed to sweep them, and Philadelphia never really played particularly too well in this series either. Minus a few people. But Tobias Harris has looked extravagant. And so is Maxey. Embiid is Embiid. He's hurt apparently again, and James Harden is what James Harden does. So Philly will probably get Boston next. And then they'll have to play better and more consistently. Boston and Philly are notorious pains in each other's sides, for lack of a better word. Joel Embiid and his health will probably start to be a concern the deeper they get into the playoffs. But, again, they can't play like this the way they played like in Boston. I mean, they can't play like this in Boston versus Boston. They can't be inconsistent all the time. Even though Boston versus Atlanta had a few lapses as well. Now this series is a series again, and I think we're coming back down here. Yeah, we are. We will be down here tomorrow. Oh Lord. The traffic. So Boston has its own lapse of letting teams think that they can contend with them too. Trae Young is a very good player. I do believe so. I also believe that there's some discontent and some underlying feelings downtown in Atlanta. I'm in Georgia, by the way, so that's why I say downtown. I do believe there might be some feelings in that locker room, in that front office, about getting him up out of there, because he is selfish. He requires the ball a lot. But y'all went and got DeJounte for Trae, and now you want to trade Trae. So if you're going to do the move like that, you need to start putting in better pieces other than DeJounte and Clint Capella. Heck, Herter was a better option than some of the other people there. So, yeah, I believe that this Atlanta team is talented, is because of Trae Young and what DeJounte can do, can take Boston to 5 or 6 games by themselves. But for Atlanta to even be considered a serious contender, they're going to need some more people around Trae so that Trae feels comfortable just passing it to him and not being so selfish. You got to make the man comfortable. At least try. If you're not going to try, get rid of him. But anyway, here's some other notable news. Kawhi has torn his meniscus. And why is this important? Because in my way of thinking, it's time for the Clippers to move on. It might be time for Kawhi to retire. Who knows? But he's always walked around with a pimp limp. And when you have people saying stuff like that, that means he's always had a bad knee or a bad leg. So I feel for him. I really do. Because then you heard about his sister being locked up for murder. Da, da, da. You feel for Kawhi. Because he's always hurt. But again, and then he load manages. You can't get into playoff basketball shape with load managing. So you can't get into basketball shape with load managing. So I believe that with Kawhi in the amount of, and I fear it was in the same knee that he had tore last year. I think he just needs to go ahead and sit this down somewhere. I'm not even finna take no jabs at him. I'm not finna go there with Paul George. Actually, I am finna go there with George Paul. I'm not. Because you can't help the fact that you're hurt or injured. Sometimes things just happen. And sometimes things just happen to the same people over and over again. But at this point, it might be time for Kawhi to go sit it down somewhere. And George Paul is very infuriating at this point. When I tell you he's infuriating, he's infuriating. He just makes me mad. Because why is there videos on the internet of this man looking fine and he can't play? He's doing everything pretty much as is, as normal, and he can't play. They need to come up off him too. Because Ty Lue don't deserve to have to deal with both Kawhi and Paul George load managing and not playing. Now, Kawhi has a legit excuse. He's hurt. Paul George didn't look hurt. And they knew that they could not win that series without Paul George or Kawhi. They didn't have a chance. 2, the Clippers should want Russ back. Like the beginning, the Clippers didn't look good. Well, they look kind of good, kind of if. They didn't have a true point guard on the roster. Now that they have Russell Westbrook, it looks a lot better. Now, if you add Kawhi or Paul George or both, if they keep both, to that, who knows what you might get. But that also is a reach because neither Kawhi Leonard or Paul George has the very good longevity type of thing going on because they're always hurt. They've barely played together. I feel like I've said this before. But yeah. Again, and Memphis is proving to be nothing but a bunch of front-running but talented front-running frauds who want smoke then duck all types of accountability. That might sound a little harsh. That might sound a little mean, but I said what I said. Like when you go on the record saying, I don't care about poking a bear, I poke bears. And the second you do poke the bear and you wake up the mama bear, the papa bear, the baby bears, and the bear cousins, you don't want no smoke. If you prepared to poke the bear, you better be prepared to take the smoke that come with it, boy. Because he said that, and oh my God, that 35-9 thing happened, and then last night happened. I'm like, yeah, boy, we finna put y'all in a pack. I'm like, we finna put y'all in a pack. Because y'all, that was just Dillon Brooks right there. And then, well, hold on. Let me rewind. Because Dillon Brooks always talks crap. Do we back it up? Absolutely not. But we go from him talking about Draymond, and he will never be able to hold Draymond's strap. Because Draymond will double down on everything that he do. He stand on it. Dillon Brooks don't. Period. So you got him saying stuff like, I want to knock the Lakers out in the first round, and LeBron's old, and I don't care about poking no bear, and now no comment. I'm not going to talk today. I'm not going to say anything. No. Keep that same energy, bro. Stand on what you stood on. And then what really made me laugh we get into my timeout session now. But what really made me laugh was, it's the media's fault. They're painting these pictures. Is the media telling you to open your mouth and say that stupid... Oh. Is anybody asking you to open your mouth and say the stupid stuff that you do? No, you do it. We ask you questions. I'm not a journalist, but they ask you questions. You choose how you want to answer said questions, and then you go on a tangent talking about LeBron is old. And then, was that a 40 piece to you that you got last night? Because he got you 20 rebounds and 20 points. There's your 40 piece right there. Go eat that. Like, it's annoying. Well, not annoying, but it's egregious. Like, how you gonna bump your gums and jaw jack and then go run and hide? First of all, you writing checks that the rest of your teammates got the cash because you can't do it. Watching you out there sometimes is like watching somebody run on the treadmill. You're not doing much of anything. So, shut up. You either put up or shut up. And if you're going to be this sensitive and just not talk to anybody because your team getting it handed to you because of you, you don't need to say anything else, bro. You ain't it. Period. And next up, we turn our attention to the NFL. With the draft being under 24 hours away, there's a lot of noise going on within the projected top 4 picks. Also, there's been some egregious rumors going on. A huge trade finally occurred. And out of all of that and more in this segment. So without further ado, let's get it popping. This is the only warning you guys are going to get. This could easily turn into a rant segment. Easily. Because of what I'm talking about right now. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So, in this segment of the NFL type of topics, first things first, we're going to address. There are several players, 5 to be exact, suspended for gambling. Wait a minute, before I even get started. Did we not just see Calvin Ridley get suspended for a whole last year for gambling last year? Did we not just see that happen? So what makes you think it's okay to bet on a platform? Yes, the NFL does partner with it, but you play in the league. You know you can't bet on NFL games, you idiots. Oh my God. So, my boy, Lions receiver Jamison Williams, he got 6 games. He wasn't betting on football games. He was betting on basketball games. Stanley Berryhill from Washington got 6 games. Wasn't football related. Then you have Shaka Toney, the Commanders DN, and then has been suspended indefinitely. When they mean indefinitely, they mean by a minimum of at least 1 year. So they can't play next year at all. And Quintez Cephas and CJ Moore were also suspended indefinitely and subsequently released from the Lions because they bet on a Bears game. Come on now. And they did this stuff within team facilities. You don't think that them phones know where you're doing and they don't have people tracking what you're doing on these type of things. And if you're dumb enough to use your real name, that's on you too, stupid. Say it then, too. Say it. Minus Bella's little intrusion of my show. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets for pretty much an overglorified pick swap. The Jets received Aaron Rodgers, a 2023 first round pick, number 15. 2023 fifth round pick, number 170. Here's where it gets a little bit funny. Green Bay receives a 2023 first round pick, number 13, a 2023 second round pick, number 42, a 2023 sixth round pick, number 207, and a conditional second round pick in 2024 that becomes a first if Rodgers plays 65% of this upcoming season, which I feel like that's going to end up being a first unless he suffers some major type of injury. I don't see that happening. Rodgers is very smart. But they could have bumped that up to at least 80% because that's the bare minimum right there. They just gave that pick to him, that first round pick to them. So, I mean, it's finally done, right? And you have all the players and stuff on social media happy for Aaron Rodgers. I want to warn the Jets fans and the Jets fan base to be prepared. Be careful what you ask for. Because he's not just going to be there for one season. He's going to be there for more. He's assuming he's going to be there for more than one season. It's Super Bowl or bust with this team. Period, point blank. And with the NFL draft coming up, everybody has a case of MSU. What is MSU? A good case of making ish up. You can replace the word ish with the other word. Ridiculous stories are about to start coming out, like how CJ Stroud scored an 18 on the Wonderlic test and his stock is plummeting. Now, and there's a little audio piece from my boy at Wire to Wire podcast about CJ and his answer to that. I'm not a test taker, I'm a quarterback. Whatever. Yeah, but I understand that you're not a test taker, you're a quarterback, but did you even try? You got an 18. Bryce Young got a 98. Heck, Richardson did better than that. And one of them had a 46. That I would see if you're not a good test taker. Not an 18. An 18 means you're just dumb. And you're stupid. And you can't... Well, I'm not even finna start ragging on this man. But it means some ain't clicking right. Something's not... You're not retaining information. Something ain't right. Right? That's exactly what testing is. It's testing how you retain information. Or how much you comprehend. If you get an 18 on the Wonderlic test, how did you get into college? We're not doing that on my bed, Bella. But yeah. What testing does literally is test if you can retain stuff. It'd be different if we knew he had a learning disability. That means if we knew he had a learning disability or any type of mental incapacitations, that'd probably go against him too. But it would give him a pass for 18%. You not being a test taker and you being a football player does not give you a pass for why you scored that low. Especially when it's an IQ test. And in the NFL, you need to be smart. You need to be kind of pretentious. You need to retain information, and you need to be able to comprehend stuff. Come on now. So you didn't even try. You're not even a test taker, but did you even try? Because it didn't look like it. Somebody tried and got a 46. At 18 looked like you didn't even try. Anyway, among those stories like that, and then there's supposedly an NFL executive said that there's nobody worth trading up for in this year's draft. I find that so damn hard to believe because outside of Bryce Young, you got Will Anderson, you got a whole bunch of people. They're worth somebody trading up for. That's just a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors and nonsense. If we're being completely honest. Hi, Toot Toot. And they don't want to say who they want to draft because somebody, again, this NFL draft is going to be a game of chess and checkers. People are going to be shuffling stuff around, getting stuff out, just so who knows what happens during the draft week. And this one, this little knock right here. Akbar, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his last name. The former NFL DN turned a show host. He hosts the Great American Ninja Warrior or something like that. He started a really nasty rumor about Derrick Henry being traded to the Eagles. And this is funny, but it's not funny because it happened on the same day that the check marks went down. So and they're signed to the same agency, and people will be able to spectate that, so they would think he knows something, and he has sources, right? So one thing I want to say here, or I just might save it for the timeout session, but you got to be a real piece of crap to knowingly start a rumor that you know has no chance of happening, just to make something stick, just to get some attention. You have to be a real pain in the butt to do something so unworthy and unbecoming of somebody who's built up their platform for that. I don't do fake journalism. I don't do rumors. I'm so sick and tired of these rumors, man. And we'll go into all of that in just a second. But I'm pretty much heated. And then we have Tierra Tart and Saquon Barkley haven't signed their respective tags yet. The Giants need to be concerned because Dexter Lawrence is also actively seeking a new contract, and they also need to be careful. Now, as far as Tierra Tart, his big butt don't have to sign that tag. Mike Vrabel said he wants speed. Tierra Tart is not fast. I love what he brings to my defensive line, though. I do. That I very much do so love. And then you have the Washington. Okay, sorry about that. Back onto Chase Young. So the Washington Commanders have declined to pick up Chase Young's fifth-year option, meaning after the season he will be free to sign either with the Commanders or anywhere else. They are not picking up that option. That means that they're going to let him go. So where did that go wrong? He's a beast. He's very talented. He's one of the top players in the league if he's healthy. The health problem is an if. Like, his availability is his inavailability is his biggest inability. There's pretty much ain't nothing he can do. Because I've seen him drop in the coverage. We know what he can do on the line. He's a monster, right? But he's always injured. So that's probably why Washington isn't picking up that man's option, even though I think he should be getting paid. DeAndre Hopkins is expected to get traded soon, maybe during tomorrow's draft. But here are a few things that I feel like might be the best fit for Nook. The Ravens are a hot trending spot, even though they have their own issues. They got a big person that they need to sign, or they need to find a quarterback. So you already brought in OBJ. Lamar Jackson told OBJ, ain't no promises. So if you bring D-Hop, he's going to want somebody proven. He's not going to want to play with no rookie. Come on now. At where D-Hop is in his career, he's not going to want to play with a rookie. And the Bills could definitely use him on the other side of Stephon. My team could use a wide receiver. He's not coming to Nashville. I know that. And the Chiefs could always use a receiver. They're always losing them. And again, back to Mr. Akbar, American Ninja Warrior host person. The Titans haven't even received calls about Derrick Henry. So that crap can go out the window. Let's stop starting stuff because we're bored, okay? and Dalvin Cook could win out of Minnesota. And the Bengals and the Chargers have done what they needed to do. They've picked up the fifth-year option on Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, which is a no-brainer, considering one of them has been to a Super Bowl already, and the other one still has a boat-ton of upside. We just don't know when I don't know if or when the Chargers are going to take the next step. But if it's not with Herbert, it might not ever be that. They might not ever get one. And now for this week's edition of Jori's Timeout Session. And boy, do I have a lot to say right about now. And I'm not even kidding. If you've listened to this whole episode up until now, you know I've been going off on tangents all episode. So you're in for it now. So among today's subjects are notorious villains in sports who embrace their roles, or just villains in sports, period. Poking the bear in sports. You'll hear my take on some catastrophic clicks that never really seem to work out. And so y'all are in for a treat. So sit back, get your laughs ready, and let's get it. And look, before I even get started, look, if I let some words slip, I'm sorry. But the amount of sheer stupidity and backwardness in today's athletes is getting on my absolute nerve. Like, first we had the thing with the gambling, and then we have other type of backwards behavior, like whatever Dillon Brooks does. Some of these athletes are just, I don't know a better way to say it, because the way I say it is just, they're backwards, right? They think backwards. And they're stupid. Some of them are just stupid. Like with the whole grooming thing. Not grooming. The whole, we're doing, like the gambling thing. Like common sense. Literally. Common sense. If last year didn't show you you're not supposed to gamble in the NFL and you play in the NFL, how about the fact that bro, if you play in the NFL, do you think it would be legal for you to bet on NFL games? And you play in it, you're a part of the NFL. You know you're not supposed to be betting. That's just stupid. And I don't want to hear no lapse of judgment, because there was no judgment. Two of them probably, if they're good enough, if Quintez Cephas and CJ Moore, if they're good enough, they'll find themselves on another roster. But Detroit said, oh no, we're not dealing with this. And the only reason why Jamison Williams was probably saved was because he didn't bet on NFL football games. You cannot be an NFL player and bet on NFL games. That is common sense. Don't be a dum-dum. It's like, it's a whole lot of stupidity going on. Another incident going on with somebody being charged with aggravated menacing. What are you doing? What? Aggravated menacing? That's acceptable on the football field. I don't think it's very accepted on the street. Aggravated menacing, I don't think that's very accepted. But like I was going in on Dillon Brooks earlier, don't poke the bear and then duck the smoke. Get snippy and get snippy. No. Stand on what you said or finish what you started. Like Dillon Brooks is literally, I'm not even going to talk about Dillon Brooks anymore. I am. You have people who talk their stuff, right? Jalen Ramsey, Eli Apple. That's actually who I was reading on Twitter. Eli Apple and Dillon Brooks are pretty much equal. They don't do much of anything, but they talk the most. And as soon as they start getting some smoke, they duck. Now, when Eli do it, he talk his mess, and he don't say nothing else until he get back in another big game. And that's when he start popping off. So he knows when to shut up. This one here, Mr. Brooks, no. And then, of course, Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey went on GQ and named a whole bunch of quarterbacks, calling people trash. Now, did they ended up carving him up? Yes. Some of them did. He was a Jaguar at that point. And he wrote a whole bunch of checks that his team couldn't damn cash. You remember what happened to that year. Because wasn't that the year that Derrick Henry did that 4 touchdowns on him? And the 99 yarders? I think that was. I think it was that year. Somebody check it for me. But please. And the thing is, Jalen stood on it. You have these players who talk their mess and they stand on it. Right? They're going to talk mess. They're not afraid to poke the bear. And then you have Mr. Dillon Brooks. Like, yeah, he might be built like a pit bull, but this man really a chihuahua. And I have a chihuahua. She might stand solid, more solid than he do. Because Puda gonna slide. But you cannot poke at people and then sit here. One, you're ducking. You're not talking to anybody. So when you did talk like 2 or 3 days ago, you decided to say that the media paints this picture of me or the fans paint this picture of me. Did the media say that LeBron was old and we don't care about poking bears and I'm going to poke the bear and we want to knock the Lakers out in the first round? Did we say that? No. Or did that come out of your dry old mouth? That came from Dillon Brooks' lips. Not us, not me, not the people at ESPN, not the people at Fox. That came from Dillon Brooks. So the fact that you're sitting here telling everybody that the media is painting the picture, okay, who gave us the paint then, ho? I mean, I told you I was going to let one slip. Who gave us the paint? If we're painting the pictures, where are we getting the paint from? Come on, Toot. Not right now. But come on now. If you're gonna sit there and talk and bump your gums and talk like that, it can't be nobody else's fault why stuff don't go the way it do but yours. Because you opened your mouth, and when I tell you, sometimes when it comes to poking bears, if you're going to poke a bear, you better be prepared for multiple bears. Because what he did with the Lakers is, this is not his first rodeo of poking bears. He did it with Golden State. What happened when they played Golden State? Right. Okay. You poke that bear. You poke this bear, and the daddy bear, the other big bear, and all the baby bears decided they was gonna go up 35-9 up in yo's butt. And LeBron said, "Oh, okay. You want the bear, huh? Okay." And he gave him a 40-piece right up his butt, and rolled him to the rim for an and one. You cannot. It makes you look really soft. It makes you look sensitive. It makes you look weak. It makes you look like a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't say on these airwaves because I have... Shut up, Bella. Because I have some type of decency. You look stupid. You either gonna be that and act like you him when you not and stand on it, or you just not him and shut up. And again, with the bogus rumors, there's been a lot of bogus rumors going around. Again, people, I want to tell you, if you're starting these rumors because you're bored, get a life. Get a life. Go do something. Go touch grass. Don't start rumors. And I asked this question on my social media pages. If you want to follow my personal Twitter is Jori Denise, JORIDENESE. Same for my Instagram. And I was having this conversation. Who was the bigger failure? The Clippers or the Nets? A lot of people, well, not a lot, but some people say the Nets flat out because of how quick. Some people say the Clippers because they never really got past the second round of the playoffs. And it's a very interesting debate because the Clippers also gave up SGA and a whole bunch of picks to go get Paul George because Kawhi said he wanted to play with Paul George. Now, we see how that's working out right now. And with Brooklyn, they went and got Kevin, Kyrie, and then they added James Harden. I knew it was doomed from the get-go. But that's neither here or there. Kyrie was in his teenage angst kind of thing where he wanted to rebel and not want to do the exact opposite of what people told him to do. And then he wanted to flatter us with his critical thinking. He wanted us to think that you want us to think that you're smart, but you do stupid stuff. So, I don't know what to tell you. Off the court. So they didn't make it a whole season, the Nets big three, and that's probably is they did make it a season. No, Kyrie and Kevin made it more than one season. They didn't make it as a big three for more than a few months before James Harden said, "Oh no, if this is what I'm going to deal with," and I don't blame him. In hindsight, do you really blame James Harden for not wanting to play with Kyrie and deal with all his foolishness? Do you really blame James Harden for that? Because I don't. Because if it had been me and Kyrie was doing all of this foolishness, I'd have gave him a 5-knuckle sandwich real quick. Because you're not making this about the team, you're making this about you. But ever since he's been in Dallas, right, Kyrie, it has been about him for the most part. And then, Dallas being Dallas, and Dallas is also, I feel like, the true colors of Mark Cuban are starting to come out. I may or may not like them, but it is what it is. But as far as, and then you have the Clippers, right? Well, for the Nets, now you can say they got some value for those trades that they did, getting all three of them out of there. They did good trade. They got them up out of there. But the Clippers traded away the house plus SGA, mortgaged their future for Kawhi and Paul George, only for their max to be is the second round of the playoffs. They got swept in the first round. Not swept. They're going home after the first round this year. But their max potential was the second round of the playoffs. And they were supposed to get championships and rings and rings and rings. I got so sick and tired of the Clippers. Just because they beat on the Lakers a few times a year, the Lakers have a ring more recently than the Clippers do. If the Clippers even have a ring. Or a banner. And again, another thing, this is just a random thought because I'm looking at my, Clippers Nets. So the way I look at it, because Kawhi and Paul George have been together a little bit longer, but this team has never, the Clippers, if you look at the Clippers, right, with Steve Ballmer, they've never been able to really put it together to get a championship caliber roster. Look at the Lob City Clippers. Were they ever championship caliber? No. Are these Clippers championship caliber? Apparently no, because they keep going home early in the playoffs. So, but my thing, I feel like, in all honesty, the Clippers might be the bigger failure. I understand when people say that the Nets, because Kyrie let the Nets run all over them, and he still let. The Nets let Kyrie run all over them, and he still left. Well, they wanted him out anyway, because they were tired of dealing with him. And you still didn't go nowhere. Y'all tried to be player friendly. It didn't take y'all nowhere. So, I understand that part, but as far as the Clippers, they made the wrong bet with the wrong guy. Because Kawhi wanted Paul George. Paul George is equally as injury prone as Kawhi, if not more. The Clippers let the wrong two superstars get together, and now they're looking stupid. So I feel like we've seen potential. We've been just waiting. I haven't been waiting for anything. Most people have just been waiting for the Clippers to take the next step. Their max was the second round of the playoffs. It's time to blow it up. Ty Lue don't deserve this crap. And y'all know he don't. So don't make him suffer through this. Go ahead, blow it up. Keep Russ and a few other people. Go get you some new pieces. Build another team. Because it's not going to work with Kawhi and Paul George and George Paul and Curious George. Whoever. Whatever you want to call them. It's not going to work with them two being part-time players. Period. Point blank. Well, y'all know the deal. If you reach this part, that means we've reached the conclusion of this week's episode of Jori Sports Stories. And once again, I'm your host, Jori, and I want to thank you all for tuning in for today's episode. And if you like what you heard, feel free to share the podcast, and let's grow the audience. Additionally, you can catch me live Wednesday mornings over on Sports Empire Network on Facebook and on YouTube on the Coffee and Sports Morning Show. Follow me on social media for more updates. Twitter at Jori Stories, JORISSTORIES. And on Instagram at JDS_sports stories. Tune in next week as we give some draft grades and more. Once again, thank y'all for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next week.